Good morning, everyone, and welcome to each of our viewers of to the next episode of Crude Conversations. Today, we have with us a guest who does not need an introduction but deserves a really good one. We have with us Terry Palisch, sir. He is currently the SPE International President of 2024, and he is also the Vice President in Carbo Ceramics for the Technology and Engineering department. And besides that, he has given his 4 decades of experience and knowledge to SPE. He has co-authored over 50 SPE technical papers, and he has served many roles for SPE, including the past chair of SPE Annual Technical Conference and also the chairman of SPE Dallas section. He is also the upcoming moderator for the very anticipated 100th year anniversary of ATC, which is the annual technical conference and exhibition, which would be soon held in New Orleans. And it is really a pleasure to talk to you with, sir. Talk to you, sir. Is there anything besides this that you would like to share about yourself to our viewers, sir?
Oh, no, that's a great introduction. I appreciate the kind words. It's great to be with you. You know, as president of SPE, there's a lot of things that as you probably know, that I have to do, and a lot of responsibilities. But I always tell students and sections the most fun thing I get to do is to talk to students. So when you invited me to come on your Crude Conversations podcast, I was very excited that we could make the time work. So it's great to be here, and again, thank you for introducing me and for inviting me.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Sir, the first question that I would like to ask you is from the very beginning of your career. So, what was your first exposure to oil and gas industry, and when did you decide that you wanted to be a petroleum engineer yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I grew up in the United States. I grew up in what we call the Midwest. So I grew up in St. Louis area. It's the middle of the United States. Not very much oil and gas in that area. In fact, I really didn't know anything about the oil and gas industry. My parents and my relatives were all school teachers, but I liked math and science. And one of my science teachers in school said, if you like math and science, you should go to this University of Missouri-Rolla, which is an engineering school. And at the time, I was going to major in chemical engineering because I liked chemistry and I liked math and stuff. And I went on a visit to the university during my last year of high school, and I was exposed to several different engineering disciplines. And the petroleum engineering, they explained how, we got to work outside and inside also, and still doing math and chemistry and stuff. And so I thought, and plus it paid well. And so I said, I'll try petroleum engineering. And so the funny thing is, other than the classes, I never saw the oil field. I never saw an oil well. I never saw anything like that until during the second year of my university. I took my first job as a summer internship in the oil field actually in West Texas, Midland. And so that was my first exposure, and I loved it. I mean, I cannot imagine not doing this. It's just been such a great adventure and so much fun. It's provided a lot of opportunities for me, as you can imagine, that I never would have dreamed. That was my first exposure. It was in the middle of university time, so I feel very blessed that I was able to do that.
Yes, sir. So definitely, sir. You have had a very long industry experience, and this is one of the questions that I really love to ask most of the industry professionals: is that between an applied petroleum geologist, petroleum geophysicist, and a petroleum engineer, which do you think is the coolest job profile currently?
Oh my gosh! I don't want to play favorites. Obviously, I'm a petroleum engineer. So for what I like to do, it's the best of the three because that's what I like to do. I like engineering. I like to solve problems, whatever. But I think that if you like to processing data and it takes a really good imagination to do the other two disciplines, and they're all very critical, right? I mean, we all have to work together to find and develop oil and gas. So I really respect those that enjoy petroleum geology or petroleum geophysics physics. Um, but they're not. I'm not. I don't think I'm smart enough to be a petroleum geophysicist. So, um,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it's completely fine. So, the next question that I wanted to ask you is really important one, especially for me as I'm doing my bachelor's currently in petroleum engineering. So, you recently, Carbo recently celebrated its 45th anniversary. First of all, congratulations to that, sir. And sir, as you are the vice president of technology and engineering, you lead the research and development in Carbo Ceramics. Now, most of my batchmates and all of my friends think that if you want to get a good job in core, you wish to get top position, then you would definitely require a PhD, an MBA, or a master's, or very tough core knowledge and academic background. But you, on the other hand, have received your bachelor's, and it is like you're looking at a profile really seems to us like a mythbuster that you require PhD and everything just to go into the industry and excel yourself. So, do you think that if, I want your real opinion, sir, that in today's world and market, is it really necessary to get a PhD to crack a high-paying salary job?
wow. I get this question. I've had this question before from students, and I have to be really careful with this answer because I want to say that there is a regional dependency on the correct answer as to whether it's important or advantageous to get a master's or a PhD. Let me start with just some facts that I think. So first of all, if you're going to go into any form of research and development, or go into university or things like that, then the answer is yes. You need to get a PhD. So that's to me clear. Now, beyond that, it really does depend on where you live. So let me just take, if somebody were to ask me that in the United States, my answer would be it's not required to get an advanced degree. It may or may not be advantageous. It doesn't hurt anything. Okay, so it's not a bad thing to do. But in the States, it's not typically been something that's required, unless, of course, you want to go into research or things like that. So from that standpoint, that's my thoughts here in the States. Now, across the world, that may be a different answer. And I think that the best thing to do would be to ask in your local area and your professors and kind of get their opinions on what they think. The other question I sometimes get is, should I get a master's in petroleum engineering or a PhD, whatever, or should I do something more like an MBA or a business administration and things like that? So the answer that I typically give on that, and my thoughts on that are that if you feel like you want to travel down the technical ladder, so you want to be highly technical, then you probably would want to get an advanced degree in petroleum engineering or something that's adjacent to that. But if you think that you would like to maybe run your own company someday or want to have a broader experience at the company you're working in and how the company works and things like that, then I might suggest getting your MBA. It's an MBA. It's the one thing I didn't do that I sometimes wish I had, and that is to get an MBA. I have a lot of colleagues and a lot of friends, particularly younger now, that once they get out into their jobs, they maybe try to get an MBA at night or on the side. And I can see some advantages there, in my role now. It does broaden your abilities and your horizons. But to go back to your original question, it really depends. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, but I do think it is a bit regionally focused. So I would really ask that to someone in India and somebody in the region, particularly places you think you might want to go work, and ask them, because a lot of times having the advanced degree actually gives you an advanced something over other candidates, right? You have an advanced degree, and so now you're more valuable.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. So thank you for your insight, sir. So the next question I was curious to ask you was that you your initial years, just like after getting out of Missouri University, you worked in Arco, and not only that, you worked in Arco in Alaska and Algeria, which
Mhm.
have two completely opposite climatic conditions. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. And sir, from an Indian perspective, I'll just let you know, sir, that we even now have seen Alaska only in documentaries, not beyond that. And so in documentaries, they only show two things, like a sledge and 10 dogs carrying the sledge, and after that, one man covered completely in fur coat,
Mhm.
staring down the valley during the sunrise. So Alaska for us is only that two things. So how did you manage in Alaska during that time? And did you also own a sledge there, sir? That was my question.
Well, let me take the second question first. I did not own a sled,
Oh,
but I saw sled dogs, and of course, that's kind of a tourist thing. There's some sled dog races. The Iditarod, which was always fun to watch. It started in Anchorage, where I live. But as far as Alaska goes, um, so you have to think, put yourself in my shoes. I grew up again in Missouri, the Midwest. We saw some snow. We had 4 full seasons, warm summers, cold winters. But my family, we never left our state hardly, much less across the country. So for me, going to Alaska was just like going to another country, and in a positive way. It was the first place I went out of college. I spent 10 years up there. I got married. When you're in Alaska, everybody up there, all the people you work with are all in the same kind of situation, the same boat. Um, nobody's from there. And so you become family. They become your family. And so for me, it's really by far, in hindsight, one of the most fun jobs I ever had. The fun places. It was a beautiful place to live. Summers were awesome. Winters were cold. The only problem with Alaska was just the winters were so long. It wasn't that it were cold. It was just that they lasted so long. But no, it was. I still go up there. Try to go up there once a year, and visit friends, but also do business. But I always, whenever I get off the plane up there, I always just sit there and think, boy, I really miss this place. It was the chance of a lifetime to work up there. And then, as you said, the funny thing was I went from Alaska to Algeria. I mean, I went to the Sahara Desert. So
yes, sir.
it was about the biggest extreme I possibly could have had in that one year, was that move. So,
Yes, sir. So Algeria during that time was like I cannot imagine, like Algeria. I have no idea about Algeria. So at that time, like how was the oil and gas industry in Algeria? Was it developing or developed, or like it's
yeah,
in
so,
Saharan desert in Africa?
yeah, so at the time, this was about 1996 or 97. And so Algeria at that time, so Algeria is an oil province. I mean, there's been oil in Algeria and gas in Algeria known in fact, Arco actually used to own an oil field or ran an oil field back in the 1960s. So it had been around for a while. The oil companies got nationalized out back I think it was the 70s. But in the 90s, when I was there, Algeria was starting to open back up again, and they were encouraging and looking. Sonatrach was looking for joint venture partners, and so Arco entered into a joint venture agreement with Sonatrach at the Rota Bagel field. The irony of this is the Rota Bagel field was actually an oil field that Arco used to run 40
Hmm.
years ago or 30 years before. So we knew about the field. And so it was a fun time to be there because all international IOCs were starting to be coming back into Algeria and develop. A lot of new discoveries happened in there. Anadarko came in and Oxy came in. They all had some big discoveries. So it was a fun time.
Yes, sir. So thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your experience, sir. So the next question I would like to ask you is that after completing your time at Argo, and I know that you would definitely be expecting this question, but after working 14 years in the oil and gas industry, you took a really unexpected career switch and became a mathematics teacher in Wiley High School. So what is the story behind this taking such a decision, and how did everyone around you react about it?
Yeah. Well, like I kind of mentioned before, so my parents were school teachers, my aunts and uncles, grandparents, my sister's a school teacher. So look, school teaching, I think it was in my blood. And, when I was in Alaska, some of the last years I was in Alaska, I was actually contemplating, maybe trying to go back and teach and things like that. But it just never made sense for me to do that. And so in 2000, BP, my job was going great, but BP bought Arco. And so I had to make a decision. They offered me a job. They were going to close the office in Dallas where I was working. And so I either could move to London, which is where they were going to run the business out of. I could move to Houston and they would find me a job, or I could work a shift of 28 days on and 28 days off and continue living where I did. I really didn't want to do any of those three things. And I'd been talking to a colleague of mine that I knew from Arco days. And she actually was telling me about this program in Texas where I could go and take a couple of classes over the summer and be teaching in the fall. So most of the time when I looked into teaching, I was going to have to go back to a couple of years of school, and I really didn't want to do that. And so I took the opportunity to make a career switch, and I taught for high school math for 4 years. And to be quite honest, it was great. I loved it. I loved every minute of the teaching. I was teaching algebra and I was teaching statistics, and I really enjoyed it. The problem is that here in the States, and maybe I don't know if it's like that there, teachers are not paid very well. And so we were in the middle of, we had 3 kids, and we were going to have to make some changes to our life if I continued teaching. And so I made the most difficult career decision I ever made. And that was the decision to come back to petroleum engineering. Believe it or not, it was a harder decision to come back than to leave it. But I'm glad I did. I mean, the CEO of Carbo Ceramics at the time I knew from Arco. And the funny thing is every year, I actually did a little bit of consulting on the side for them, but every year he would call me up in the spring and say, "Hey, are you ready to leave teaching and come back to the industry?" And after 4 years, I finally said yes. So that's kind of the story behind it. It's actually one of the reasons why I came to Carbo is that one of the things I did was they asked me to go out and educate clients on technology and some non-Darcy flow and things like that, and so I got to kind of continue to teach, and so that was fun. But I'd love to go back and do it again someday.
Yes, sir, definitely, sir. Sir, it was like teasing the condition that you said that the pay is not that much in America. It's the same here. Like besides institution level, like national institutes, no, the schools
Right.
they have really ridiculous problems. So, like during when I was a child, during that some of our teachers they did not used to get paid for like months or even half a year, and so they had to face many problems. So,
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And again, the hard thing for us was just that, we had been living, our lifestyle was geared towards petroleum engineering lifestyle. And so to change that lifestyle was going to be really hard. And so I chose, I had an opportunity, and so I took advantage of it. And look, it's been great. I mean, I've enjoyed it, but I do miss teaching. I did enjoy it a lot.
yeah, so the next question that I wanted to ask you is that as you have become an SPE president, the life definitely has to change. Like there must have been various changes that have happened in your day-to-day life, and something that you have experienced, which you had never experienced before. So how was that experience of just becoming the SPE's international president, and how was the change and everything, the experience?
Yeah. So look, it's hard to describe the time commitment of being the president of SPE until you've done it. in the job description, it says you're going to spend 75 to 100% of your time on SPE, and it's true. For the 1 year that you're president, the middle year, I mean, the term is 3 years. You're incoming for 1 year, and then you're president, which is what I am now, and then you're outgoing. But certainly this past year, I mean, to be honest with you, I pretty much work day and night. And I usually pick a day on the weekend and get some work done because I didn't stop my Carbo job. Now, granted, look, I have a great team. I have a great executive team, and some people have had to pick up some of the slack, and I haven't been able to do all of my typical job at Carbo. But it is a very time intensive. And I think the thing that I was probably, I knew I'd have to travel, and I knew, some of the things I would need to be doing, but preparing for trips are, they take time. Preparing for a keynote speech or a panel or maybe just visiting sections and chapters. But, after a while, you kind of get in a groove, and you kind of make that work. Then it's just a matter of travel. But the thing I think I was probably most surprised at was just the day-to-day discussions. And I probably call or talk to somebody every day on SPE stuff. And I think there was a little bit of an added wrinkle, which was a good wrinkle, but it was the fact that we changed CEOs at SPE. And so the previous CEO had been there for 20 years. And so, there was a lot of knowledge there that I would have probably said, how would we do this, whatever, that wasn't there. And so the new CEO, Simon Seaton, and I were kind of new at the same time. So I speak with Simon for a long time there, almost every day. But it was a very good learning experience for us to understand the organization. But yeah, the time commitment, I would have never done this if my children are all grown and aren't living at the house anymore. But if we were in the kind of the younger years of my kids, there's no way I would have done it. I just wouldn't have had time. So.
Yes, sir. That sounds really hectic but exciting at the same time, sir. Yes. So
yeah, the other challenge I have is I just don't say no to people. I mean, people ask me if I can do something. I look at the calendar and say, "Yep, it's open," and then you forget about the fact that you have to prepare for all that stuff. So.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for making time for us, sir. We are really grateful to you, sir. So, the next question that I wanted to ask you is that working so much for SP, like writing 50 technical papers, working for 4 decades and everything like that, what does SP mean to you if you had to express it within one sentence?
Oh, one sentence? SPE is the way that I think that you keep yourself professionally fit. So you may have heard me say this before. I talk about gym membership or health club membership. I mean, and SP membership. You go to a health club or a gym because you want to take care of your body and stay physically fit and healthy. And I think that SPE membership, you have the ability to take care of yourself professionally. So, for me, SPE, the biggest thing that I've gotten out of SPE has been the professional development side of things, the soft skills. So whether it's writing, speaking, presenting, or leading, all those things have come from SPE. And so leading a section, leading a program, things like that prepare you for leading your team at work. And writing technical papers help make you a better writer, a technical writer. And of course, there's no substitute for getting up in front of people and speaking and stretching yourself there. And so all of those things are provided by SPE. So that's by far, for me, the biggest thing I've gotten out of it. But everybody gets something a little bit different. But that's an answer. It's more than one sentence, but that's. But really, for me, it's the professional development side.
Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Sir, the field is something that every petroleum engineer needs to experience within his life. Currently, we are not that, I'd say, what we say, and how to put we are not that fortunate because most of the oil wells in India are not that much active and the sites are way too far from our college. So we do not get to visit it. But definitely in America, it is like really, really good. I'd say that every one of our professors, Professor Raj Kiran sir, he was in University of Oklahoma, and he used to say that every week we used to go to the field and enjoy there. So, is there any memory about your best field trip or anything like that you've had?
My time in the field. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'd say my favorite memories of the field. Boy, there's a lot. But I think my favorite memory would probably be in Alaska. So when I was in Alaska, I lived in Anchorage, but the fields were up on the North Slope. You may have heard of Prudhoe Bay, but that is about a 1.5 hour flight from Anchorage. And so I worked a job where I would work in the field for 7 days, and then I would be off at home for 7 days. And so going up to the field, whether it was the summertime when it was beautiful and the caribou were out and everything else, or the wintertime when it was dark and you could see the northern lights. And again, for me, I love the field. I just absolutely loved going to the field, hands-on, being near the wells, doing engineering to, stimulate the wells or optimize the gas lift or whatever. To me, that's just engineering, right? That's a problem. How can I make this well produce better? That is by far the most fun thing I ever got to do, is being in the field. So, but I would say that as far as field work, Alaska probably was the most fun. Going to Algeria, though, going to Sahara Desert, same kind of thing, just a little bit different climate, and different opportunities there. And even when I was in university and I went to West Texas and working on low stripper wells and stuff, there's just, as you said, it is quite an experience. And as petroleum engineers, it's hard enough for us because we can't see the rock down below. Even if we're in the field, and so then it's even harder than, like you said, if you can't even see the field. The good news is, though, you have things that we didn't have, and that is, you have the ability to get on a Teams call and someone in the field, or you could, at least somehow virtually experience the field if needed. So.
Yeah, definitely, sir. So the next question that I would like to ask is, like most of the current students ponder upon it, and like most of my batchmates know, they think that a startup within the petroleum industry is really challenging because first of all the investments are high. Like even small parts of a drill or everything you want to do will have a cost of millions of dollars. So the investment barrier is really high, and gathering fundings for it is also high. And the risk that it comes, that you cannot be completely 100% sure that yes, if I drill a hole here, then definitely oil will come out of it. So petroleum startup is definitely something that not most people are fond of or want to try to. But recently, SPE in ATC has conducted the startup village startup competition. So what are your views on that, and what are your views on is startup possible within the petroleum industry?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, the Startup Village is a really neat program. I got to host that award last year at ATCE, and I really honestly didn't know as much about that Startup Village until then. But it's a great program, and there's some amazing. I think this year we have like 30 applicants. There's some amazing technologies and some things that people are proposing in that Startup Village. So I think that's a cool program. The nice thing about our industry, I recognize what you're saying. I mean, there is cost of investment and risk and things like that, but that's the beauty of our industry and probably other industries as well, is that you can sit down and you can say to yourself, there's this problem, I want to help solve this problem, and you get some smart people together and you come up with an idea, and then you go maybe do some lab work or you do some internal testing, and before you know it, you're out looking for capital, and you have an idea, and it maybe turns into thing. So, I mean, technology, the access that we have now to technology, computing power and brain power is just unprecedented. So you got to have the right mind for that. You have to kind of have that entrepreneurial, risk-taking, and smart. Have some smart people around you that have the ideas. But no, I think if that's the kind of thing that a person that you likes, I think there's no better time than now to be able to do that kind of stuff.
So, one of our alumni, Ishika Singh ma'am, who was the SPE president last year of our student chapter, she wanted to talk to you and just mention her gratitude towards SPE and her work experience and everything.
Sure.
Hello, sir. So, am I visible and audible?
Hello. Good to meet you.
So, first of all, without further ado, I'd like to thank you for being here and taking out time out of your busy schedule to be with all of my juniors here. And as you said, I was the president for the last term of SPE ITISN student chapter. I worked very closely with SPE while in my bachelor's at ITISN. So I started as a volunteer. I started volunteering for moderation and content writing for the various events that we used to do. And then I moved on ahead to become the content head, and then I became the president because of my contributions. So it was a wonderful time, and SPE was the biggest part of my career or educational life at IITISN, and I got a lot of opportunities because of which I've transformed into a very better person, both professionally and academically. So I got to be a part of the Petrobol team. So
Nice.
the technical side developed, and my knowledge about SPE as well. Then I was I was nominated for IPTC and I got selected for it. So I attended IPTC 2023 in Bangkok, Thailand. So that was the biggest networking opportunity that I could have got at my age. So I sat with industry leaders like Heljo Vadesen, and then Amy Chua, and Matima, she's from SLB. These are people who were heading their respective zones in and around Asia. So it was a transformative experience because I wouldn't have ever thought, I don't even think right now that I would be sitting with the SPE president. So it's a very big opportunity, and that is given to us by SPE. So I'm very thankful for that. But then if I am sitting with the SPE president, I have the opportunity to ask you something. So what do you think an SPE student chapter, what should it aim for? What should be its particular goal?
Wow, that's a great question. So as far as what a student chapter, look, I think some of the things that you've talked about, the way that the student chapter and it helped you, it gave you the opportunity to work together with your colleagues. It gave you the opportunity to lead some things. It gave you some technical and your networking. I think focusing on those things are exactly. I always tell people, think about what you like about it and what you've gotten out of something, and that's probably what you should focus on. Because if you like it, other people probably like it. And I do think it depends on where you're at. I mean, I think what a student chapter located in one area of the world might have a different focus than another. But I mean, I think in the end, it's about getting together with your fellow students. It's about coming up with some goals. It's about pulling together volunteers and executing those goals, because that's how you grow, and that's what will prepare you for when you're out in the real world. And to be honest with you, I want to tell you a little story. I was not very active in my student chapter. I was not active at all. I joined SPE so I'd have something to put on my CV. I was involved in other things on campus that gave me some leadership abilities and things like that. But I didn't do much with SPE, and I didn't do much with SPE till probably 5 or 10 years into my career. But in hindsight, if people always ask me, what's the one thing you could tell your young self? And it would be to get involved with SPE as a student, because you just learn so much, and you meet like you said, you meet people, and that network is so important. So yeah, I think I would say think about what you got out of it and the positives that you've gotten, and I would say that's what you focus on doing with your student chapter and trying to help other people have that same ability and that same experience.
So now comes to the uh, final section about the conferences and everything. So our chapter officer Shubham Chaudhary will definitely get to you about it, and he would ask you questions about depending on based on the conferences that will soon be scheduled.
Good evening, sir. It was an insightful session till now. I just wanted to ask you about the ATCA, which has been conducted in New Orleans this year. What are your expectations from your side, as you are a moderator in this event?
Yeah, so it's exciting. Obviously, as you know, it's the 100th anniversary for ATCE.
Yes, sir.
For the SPE president, ATCE is kind of the culmination of your presidency. So at the end of ATCE is when I hand over the gavel to the next president. But it's also a hugely busy week for me. For me, it's a lot of preparation, a lot of concern and whatever about all the things I have to go to and see. But as far as ATC goes, we've got some neat things planned. I mean, it's in New Orleans. It's a great location. We've got some new panels this year. We added 5 strategic panels that are all C-suite attendees or panelists. So they're talking about futuristic type topics. I moderate one of them about SPE, talking about SPE and the future and kind of what do we need to do to continue to stay ahead of the things with SPE and our members. We, of course, have our CEO panel in the very beginning, all CEOs on that opening general session, so that'll be fun. We have on the exhibition floor, we'll have some local entertainments and local food. We also are trying to make everything a little bit more compact so that you can easily go from the technical sections and the sessions to the show floor and back and forth more easily. And in fact, if you're an SP member, you can go to the show floor for free this year. You have to pay, you have to be a full delegate to go to the papers and the sessions, but we're excited about that to try to help the local SP members and get an advantage for an SP member. And then of course, look, we have the 400 plus papers, have some good special sessions. We have our awards banquet, so that's always fun. So that's a lot of neat things. We've been trying to kind of continue to modify ATCE to meet our members' needs. And so hopefully we'll see some of the new things there for that.
Yes, sir. Sir, it was great having you over here, and I hope we can collaborate further as well.
Well, congratulations. I was looking